Yeah.
So help me connect the dots. A guy who did banking back in the day, went to LSC, spent like a number of years in that field,
Yeah.
suddenly gets up one day and says, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm going to make content.
Yeah. So I think it's look, it's something that I feel like I've had inside me for a while. I remember trying to, write a play in school and get my friends together. I remember doing radio plays on
Mm-hmm.
when I was like, 8, 9 years old. So I think wo कीड़ा था कुछ, मगर it
Mm.
was suppressed because, of course, I was leaving grammar school in 98, at which
Okay.
point, there's no concept of, at least then there wasn't, of doing media, of doing film, of doing anything
There
that
wasn't.
the sciences or liberal arts at most, but not so much.
Right.
So economics, I was good at it. I'd done it for GCSEs and then A levels. So kind of just fell into that and did it and went to LSE and just did what was expected of me for a very long time.
Right.
And then of course
Right.
you become an investment banker at 21 and you have a big fat paycheck and you're like
Yeah.
suddenly, okay, I'm suddenly rich when I'm 21. How's
Yeah.
that possible? And then you kind of, and they, it kind of, I tried to leave a few times, but something always came up. 3 years down, I was really determined I was going to leave, and my MD decided that he wanted to send me to New York. So I was like, oh, okay, fine, 1 year in New York, not bad. I had a lot of,
Golden handcuffs. Golden handcuffs.
yes, exactly. So I think a lot of that happened, and kind of years merged, and just I was what I would do sometimes, at least in the early years.
Mm-hmm.
I would work for 14 to 16 hours and banking hours, and then I would
Right.
come home and I'd still try and write for like an hour or 2 hours before going to sleep. So I
Wow.
think that thing was always there. Once I took a like a month of sabbatical, right, during
Okay.
my associate level, and I went and did like a week of filmmaking course. So I think that I kept going back to it. It just took me a really long time to figure out that this could be a profession. What I enjoyed could be something that I could do for a living. I think that took a very long time. So 10 years, and
But what was the trigger? Like, I mean, after 10 years, I mean, there must have been some trigger event that said, you know what, this is the segue to break away from these golden
I,
handcuffs.
I think two triggers perhaps. One was from a work perspective. Technology had gone down. 2007 crash had happened. I'm talking 2010. I was still employed, but TMT was dissolving, and they were saying, "Hey, do you
Right.
want to like migrate to UK M&A? Do you want to go to another group or something?" And I was like, "If I'm really changing, do I want to stay at Citi? Do I want to keep doing banking?" And I had gotten married, so I think my wife was very
Okay.
supportive and kind of knew that I had wanted to do something creative for a while. So she was nudging me. She was saying, "Go do what you've got to do, make yourself happy." And
So
then,
the wife is the trigger, huh? As
yes,
always.
the wife is the trick in a good way, in a very good way.
In a good way.
And so she kind of convinced me to have that conversation with my mother, who's the one
Okay.
who says something and it goes
So
for
the
me
wife's
anyway.
the trigger and the mother's the challenge.
Yes. So the trigger pushed me to the challenge, and I spoke to the challenge, and challenge said, "Okay, fine, you can go do make one film."
Right.
And I was like, "Sure, I'll make one film," and then that
Okay.
film was Cake.
Okay.
And kind of, so she oscillates. She's very proud in moments when something comes out, and then she's still like, "But you could have been an MD right now." So I
Right.
think she's always oscillating. And I keep telling her, I was like, "It's never gonna happen. I'm never ever going back to banking." But I think
Right.
somehow she still believes that I will someday. So